Nothing is impossible. Fire, graded reader, improve your English fluency check mark. The night Arjun decided not to give up, rain fell like the sky was breaking apart, and the city lights blurred into long trembling lines as if even the world was unsure where it was going. His shoes were soaked, his hands were empty, and his heart felt heavier than the bag he no longer carried. He stood on a quiet bridge, listening to the water rush below, feeling like his life had become a long sentence with no punctuation, no pause, and no meaning. In that moment, when hope felt like a word from a forgotten language, something inside him whispered that maybe this was not the end, but the beginning of a harder, braver chapter. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of never giving up, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Arjun had not always been this tired. Once, he had been a boy who ran barefoot on dusty roads, who believed the world was wide and welcoming, who thought dreams were simple things you could hold if you reached high enough. He grew up in a small town where mornings smelled of tea and rain, and evenings echoed with laughter from open windows. His parents worked hard, not for luxury, but for dignity. They taught him that education was a bridge to a better life, and that kindness was a strength, not a weakness. Arjun believed them with the pure faith only a child can have. But life does not always follow the lessons we are taught. When his father fell ill, the house grew quiet in a different way. Bills piled up like silent accusations, and dreams were slowly packed away to make room for responsibility. Arjun moved to the city with hope stitched tightly into his heart, determined to study, work, and lift his family out of worry. The city, however, did not greet him gently. It was loud, impatient, and endlessly demanding. Jobs were scarce, rooms were small, and people passed each other like strangers in a storm, heads down, eyes closed. He worked wherever he could, carrying loads, cleaning offices, standing for long hours that made his legs ache and his spirit feel thin. At night, he studied under weak lights, his eyes burning, his mind fighting sleep. He failed exams not because he lacked intelligence, but because exhaustion became his constant companion. Slowly, quietly, disappointment settled into his life. Friends moved ahead, opportunities slipped away, and Arjun began to believe that maybe some people were meant to struggle forever. The turning point did not arrive with a miracle or a sudden rescue. It arrived in the form of loss. One morning, he was told his job was no longer needed. No explanation, no apology, just a nod and a closed door. The city that had already taken so much now seemed to push him further into the shadows. Days turned into weeks of searching, walking, waiting, and returning to his small room with nothing to show for it. Pride became a burden, and hope felt like a dangerous thing to hold on to. That night on the bridge, with rain soaking through his clothes and doubt soaking into his bones, Arjun faced the quiet truth that giving up would be easy. It would require no effort, no more fighting. But as he stood there, memories rose like small lights in the dark. His mother's tired smile, his father's belief in education, the boy who once ran barefoot without fear. He realized that quitting would not end the pain, it would only erase the possibility of something better. The next morning, Arjun woke up with no clear plan, only a decision. He would try one more time, not for success, but for dignity. He began by volunteering at a small community center, helping children with basic reading and writing. He did not do it for money, because there was none. He did it because being useful again felt like breathing fresh air after being underwater too long. Teaching the children forced him to relearn patience, simplicity, and hope. Their curiosity reminded him that learning was not about perfection, but persistence. Slowly, something inside him changed. He began to study again, not with pressure, but with purpose. He borrowed old books, watched free lessons, practiced his English every day, knowing that language was a key to many locked doors. Some days were still hard. Hunger still came, fear still whispered at night, and the future remained uncertain. But now, there was movement. There was effort. There was belief. One evening, while helping at the center, Arjun met a man who noticed his dedication. This man had no dramatic entrance, no grand promises. He simply observed, listened, and offered guidance. He told Arjun about a training program, free but demanding, focused on skills that companies needed. It required discipline, consistency, and courage. Arjun hesitated, not because he doubted his ability, but because he feared disappointment. Yet he remembered the bridge, the rain, and the promise he made to himself. He applied. The days that followed tested him more than anything before. Early mornings, long lessons, constant practice, and frequent failure. He struggled to keep up, stumbled over concepts, and sometimes felt like the weakest person in the room. But instead of quitting, he stayed late, asked questions, and practiced until his hands and mind were tired. Each small improvement felt like a quiet victory. Each mistake became a teacher rather than an enemy. Months passed, and change arrived not with noise, but with stability. Arjun completed the program. He did not become rich. He did not suddenly escape all problems. But he received an opportunity, a real job, earned through effort rather than luck. His first paycheck was modest, yet when he held it, his hands trembled. It represented proof that struggle did not mean failure, that time spent trying was never wasted. He moved into a slightly better room, sent money home, and continued volunteering when he could. The city did not change, but Arjun did. He walked with his head higher, not from pride, but from peace. He understood now that nothing being impossible did not mean everything would be easy. It meant that persistence could reshape reality, slowly, quietly, and powerfully. As years passed, Arjun became someone others turned to for guidance. Not because he had all the answers, but because he understood the weight of doubt. He spoke about failure without shame, about fear without weakness, and about hope without exaggeration. His story was not about luck or talent. It was about refusing to let one bad chapter define the entire book. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may be struggling, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps spread messages of hope to people who may feel alone right now. Arjun often returned to that bridge, not in despair, but in reflection. He would stand there, watching the water move endlessly forward, reminding himself that life, too, flows on. Pain passes, effort accumulates, and even the darkest nights eventually make room for morning. He learned that nothing is impossible does not promise success, but it promises possibility to those who keep walking. Before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and share what part of this journey stayed with you the most, or write the words "nothing is impossible" if you believe in second chances and quiet strength. Arjun's life did not become perfect, but it became meaningful. And sometimes, that is the greatest victory of all.